We are live.
We are live. We are live.
And also,
why is there
go
this
ahead
feedback?
And, share this to everybody. What is going on? Oh, that's going on. We have a little bit. Of course. Yes, sir. There you go. All right. Hey, everybody. Task, what's going on? We'll go ahead and finish up your texting.
I'm just texting the client. Hang on 1 second here. Well, I'll be right with you guys.
Hey, no problem, man. No problem.
It's been a crazy day. It's been crazy.
Yeah. Tell me about it.
Just a lot to do in a little bit of time. That's all.
You doing anything tonight?
No, nothing. I'll be on a plane.
Okay. All right. I got you. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Let's just give it a second here. Mr. Perry is, I don't know. He's tapping on his phone. Anyway, hey, how did you get to where you are and how do you get to where you want to be?
Oh my God.
I'm reading my teleprompter.
Well, I got to where I am by coming up the stairs. I'm going to get to Orlando by taking a plane.
Gotcha. There you go.
Yeah.
And that's the show, folks.
That's it, guys. Thanks for tuning in.
All right.
And tell us your story. I'd love to hear it.
Yeah, I don't have much of a story, really. But did you see the video? Did you see the video of
your
our instructors?
Oh,
no,
I saw the motivational video. That was a quip that was taken from yesterday. That turned out really nice.
Brian did a great job on that, didn't he?
He did. Yeah, he made you look really good, man. Like your mouth moved.
Oh, yeah.
That was great.
Totally did that.
And do your guys know that Harry Houdini died from getting punched in the stomach? Do they know that?
No, I didn't tell them that yet.
Oh,
but dude, listen to me.
Brutal.
Listen to me. You got to, maybe right after this, you got to make a note for yourself, seriously, because I got to show you a text message that came in this morning.
Okay.
So just remind me regarding the conditioning.
Yeah. Got it.
Yeah. Right.
Okay.
Anyway. Yeah, I thought Brian did a great job. Some people think that I did a voiceover speech on that, but he had taken snippets of things that I've said in meetings and put that together. And I thought he did a great job.
He did.
So anyway, so Tass, this is a good topic today because it's wide open, and obviously it's not a good topic by the look of the people that are attending the Facebook Live here.
Maybe they're just not sure how to get here.
Right.
That could be.
And they're dropping fast. We just dropped 20% in the last 10 seconds. I think business owners, not school owners, this is important, need to look at what got them to where they are, because I think every business owner hits that plateau at some point, right? First of all, if you're a business owner and you've been in business longer than a year, you beat the odds. If you're a business owner and you've been in business for 5 years, you're almost an anomaly, right? However, thank you, Sylv. How many people continue to grow and expand and break records in years 8, 9, 10, 20, 30, right? And the thing is if you're not evolving, if you're not doing something different, you will hit a plateau and you will just maybe stay afloat. And I think this is the biggest challenge for business owners to really grasp, right?
And I think, it can apply for both martial arts specifically, right? And business, what I'm going to say, but, I've heard this expression. Do you have 20 years experience or you have 20 years of the same 1 year of experience. Does that make sense? So if you've been doing the same thing you've been doing over and over for 20 years, it's, hey, we did this last year, we're doing the same thing. We're doing the same thing. We're doing the same. Or are you actually growing, right? And I think whether that's, you look at that from your martial art perspective, do you have 10 years, 5 years, 8 years, 30 years experience? Are you constantly growing to get better in your martial arts? And then also on the business side, right? If you have 20 years experience, I'm just making this up as an example, and you got to a level where you were doing, I'll just pull a number out, $250,000 a year in gross revenue, and you've been doing $250,000 for the last 10, 15 years, well, it's kind of a rinse and repeat. It's just the same thing over and over, and there's not any growth there. So it's interesting that we have this topic today. A couple things in the last few days that have come up. One, I was with my family this last weekend, and we were playing dominoes, and they had made me the scorekeeper. And instead of going names across the top and numbers down, I went names across the side and numbers across. So every time we got done with a round, I had the numbers up as we went and I crossed out the previous number. And they were yelling their numbers to me, and I was adding and putting the new number in. My mom is like, and my sister were like, "Were you good in math when you were?" My mom's like, "I don't remember you being good at any subject that you were in at school. I certainly don't remember you being good in math." I said, "No, I hated math." She said, "Well, how are you so good at math today?" Right? I'm like, it's funny. I said, it's the martial arts, it's the business, right? It's the entrepreneur, it's the business, it's finding the passion, and I find passion in analyzing numbers and doing the same things, the same numbers over and over. You learn to develop, speed with math and can understand math. I had another client that asked me a client asked me yesterday. He's like, "Did you ace math class when you were like in school?" I said, "No, I was like a C student." Like, well, he's like, "Don't tell anybody that because you're like a genius when it comes with math." I said, "Well, let's not get carried away." But it's just interesting because I think what we're passionate about, right? We tend to grow, and so that happened. And then I had another thing happen today where I had somebody call me outside the industry, is in a different industry, and they're going to a trade show, and he wanted to get some advice. And he opened the conversation basically with, "Look, I remember where you came from," because I've known the guy for 25, 30 years. I know
Tess, while you're talking, because there's a delay on this, anybody that is watching this, can you just put the year you opened your school? So while you're telling the story, I just want people to put in, what year did you open or start your business? So go ahead.
Right on. And so anyway, he had just said, I know where you came from, and I know where you are today. And it was just it was interesting conversation because they're going to this trade show where they can't bring their product because it's a proprietary deal, so they really can't sell. So his question was, "Well, what am I going to do while I'm there?" I'm like, "Well, first of all, I wouldn't go to a trade show where you can't sell your products, number one. But if you're going to go and if you're invested in going," I said, "then the next best thing," I said, "and even more so than your product, even if you had a product, would be the relationships that you make." And I said, I would be looking to make relationships with people because you just don't know where that next person is going to come into your life. And you're either going to help them, they're going to help you, or it's going to help both of you and can literally change the trajectory of your life. And you've got to have, an open lens to those types of things. And so anyway, just interesting that this topic came up because the last few days, there's been similar talks of the same thing. I was never good at math, right? That was the deal. So how did I get there? Because I invested in, not in math classes, but in my business and really analyzing the numbers.
Yeah, it's funny, right? But you're right. Number one, people have to realize we could get very good at bad habits. We could get very good at old habits. And you may be the best business owner in the world to here, right? But how do you get from here to here? Because the things that got you where you are today won't get you to where you want to be tomorrow. And this is what happens. But the next part of this, and then I want to talk about when people open their business. The next part of this is when you open or start your business or career, even like just whatever, right? You're hungry and you are working and you're grinding and you do this, right? And then you start paying the bills, you start taking a little paycheck, and then you're afraid to evolve because you're afraid you're going to lose what you have. And you don't want to make changes because you're scared. You're scared that if you're going to make changes, that the floor can collapse underneath you. And as I was talking earlier, and I see that, look, Mr. Johnson started in 92, 2012, 97, 2021, Mr. Desjardins, brand new at this, right? 2018, 2008, 2007. Listen, first of all, tap yourselves on the shoulder and congratulate yourself, because as I said, you beat the odds if you stayed in business over a year. I mean, that's just a fact. If you've been in business for 5 years, and by the way, I want you to know the odds are against you. All right. You need to know that, because something's got to drive you to not be on autopilot. So you should have a little bit of fear and never get too cocky or arrogant thinking, oh, I got this. I got it. I've been in business with Mr. Johnson 30 years, right? I got this. No, we don't got this. We got to keep grinding. We got to keep pushing, and we got to keep evolving. But the next thing is if you beat the odds on staying in business, it is a very small percentage, very small percentage of businesses that take things to the next level comparatively to other people in the same industry, in a like industry, right? And I say this all the time. Let's just pretend, or let's just use martial arts, because most of you on here are martial arts business owners. It bothers me if there's a school that's doing $100,000 a month and has great students, great staff, great career opportunities, and my school's doing $30,000 a month and I have great students and I can't provide great opportunities. That bothers me. Why can they do 100 and I'm only doing 30? And I had to define that, because as we all know, some people say, well, that's because they're a belt factory. That's because they just nickel and dime people. That's because they just do this. They just do. That's called excuses. At the end of the day, I don't care what it is. If there's a company, a like business, that's doing better financially in the business world than me, that bothers me. I'm competitive. I want to do better. So it's a drive to constantly do better. And I want to lead the industry, right? That's the mentality you guys, I believe, should have. Because if you don't have that mentality, we could have a debate and a discussion, but at the end of the day, some way, shape, or form, you're settling. You're settling. And I don't like to settle, right? I want to strive to constantly be better. But to be better, you got to evolve and make changes compared to what you've been doing to get you to where you are. And that's where the scary part comes in.
Metz, you bring up those stats about being in business for a year, then being in business for 5 years, right? And it's an anomaly most times, right? But I remember early on, I opened my first school when I was 20 years old, 19, I guess, 20. And I got past the first year, and then I got past the first 5 years. And I'm like, well, I remember thinking this way because I remember I metaphorically had to give myself a kick in the ass, because I'm like, well, I made it longer than any other business owner makes it statistically. Well, that is a means of being complacent, right? That's one way you can be complacent. Like, well, I've made it. I've made it past what everybody else has done, or the majority of people have done, and so therefore I'm good. And one of the things that you say all the time, you're in a great place, right? You've made a lot of great decisions. Luck has nothing to do with it. There's been things that have happened along the way that you made decisions. Those decisions, those triggers that you pull get you to where you are today. But you always also say, I don't take it for granted because it could all go away tomorrow. And I think if people would have this idea in their head, like, look, you made it past year 1, or maybe past year 5 or 10 or 20. But if you treat it like year 1, right? You should find that whatever that is, right? There should be something that's going to get you going to get to that next level, right? And that's it. Everyone's why is different. And you hear this at every motivational speech there is. You have to understand your why. And most people don't really have a big enough why, yet you've heard it hundreds of times. But when you sit down to figure out your why, it becomes difficult because you feel like, well, what's their why? And what is their why? Because you want to latch on maybe to something that's something else, somebody else is doing, because you're trying to figure out, is my why the right why? Is it not the right why? What's the driving force? And only you can do that, right? You can get ideas from other people. There's no question. But it's so important to figure out what is the why for you, and why do you want it to happen? Why is it important that you grow? Why is it important that you're successful? Because that's what's going to drive you. And that why, by the way, will change or can change over time. It's no different than when you hit a goal, it's time to set a new goal, right? And even before you hit that goal, as you're encroaching, it's time to set that new goal. So your why can definitely change for some of you, right? And that are maybe, it was for your kids, right? My why is I want to be successful because I want to be able to put my kids in college. I want to do this. I want to do that. For others of you, it may be, and this is interesting. I was listening to some Tony Robbins yesterday or the day before, and he interviewed doctors, like top doctors in the world, and the type of medical help that is available, from regenerative stuff like with stem cells and regrowing like a portion of your body, to all the stuff that's happening that a lot of people don't even know about or have access to because they don't necessarily have the money to do that. So maybe your why is, if anything ever happened, I want to have access to the top medical, professionals in the world, right? Maybe you're a little bit older now and your why is now your grandkids. We don't know what your why is, but that is what is going to drive you to the next level and keep you going on a daily basis. It's got to be big.
Yeah, maybe. But I said it in the meeting this week that we had in our big group meeting, that you don't have to do anything, right? But you know how we say in business tasks, you don't know what you don't know. So people will base their decisions based on only the knowledge that they have and the experience that they have, right? But they don't know the experiences they haven't had yet. They don't know what they don't know yet, right? And it's the same thing with your why, right? It's easy to sit here and say, you got to know your why and this, that, and the other. So for example, if we say, well, I want to make sure that I can be taken care of, or put my kids in a good college, right? But some people will say, well, that's what student loans are for, right? And they'll justify why they don't have to be there, but it's only because they haven't tasted that level of success yet. They don't know what they don't know. And listen, let's not get religious or spiritual, but you only live once. I don't need people saying, well, no, you don't. I came back as a raccoon. You only live once, right? Thanks, Das. Is it the voice or was it the example?
No, it was the raccoon. Like, you could have picked anything else almost, but it was a raccoon.
You know why it was a raccoon? I was just reading here's how we get here. This is an example of ADD, everybody.
Yes.
I was just reading about Renzo Gracie's live tweets when he thought he was being mugged in New York City, and he's tweeting as he's beating these guys up. And he said he raccooned one of the guys. He'd put him to sleep, punch him in the eye. When the guy was waking up, he would whisper in his ear, this is what death feels like. Put him to sleep again, punch him in the other eye. So the next morning he'd look like a raccoon.
Oh my God.
So anyway,
that's awesome.
Okay. You're going to come back, as a woman, Tess. Let's just use that example. Here's the deal. Yeah, that might happen in this lifetime. That might happen here, right? But you only live once, and everybody on here, I'm assuming, probably has all of their needs met. You have a roof over your head, you have food on your table, you have some form of transportation, you can go out and have a dinner whenever or so often or whatever. Like your needs are met, right? But there's another level. There's another level when you can give back financially to people in need. You can do the finer things in life. You know, Steve Harvey talked about it when he talked about walking past first class. And he would always never think about it. He'd walk by first class, sit and coach, until one time a flight attendant said, "Sir, we have an opening in first class. Would you like to take it?" He goes up to first class and he's like, "Oh my gosh, you get a hot towel, I get meals, I get drinks." He said from that day on, he never walked by first class the same. And all he thought about was, how do I get back to first class? He got a taste of it. Well, I said this on the meeting that Brian made this video of my snippets here, that you need to get that taste of that next level, so then you have the option. For example, the Steve Harvey example that he was talking about, he doesn't have to sit in first class, but if he wants to, he will. Right. That's the difference. You want to make sure that you give yourself, in this life that we have, as many options that you can, instead of limiting your options because of being financially strapped, because of being tied down to your career, because you're on a place to nowhere. And I'm going to use an instructor, an employee. Let's talk about an employee for a second. I knew when I started my business and when I started hiring people, I said this before, I knew I did not want to stay at the school as an owner every night till 9 o'clock at night. I knew I did not want to do that my entire life. I wanted to be home to have dinner with my kids potentially at some point or whatever. So what did I do? I hired staff, right? So I can do that. But when I was doing that, I sat there and thought to myself, well, if I didn't want to do that, I don't think they're going to want to do that. And I didn't want to have them on a one-way path to nowhere in their career. So we've set up a corporate ladder and a structure to where my team members can move up and not have to work till 9 o'clock every night. Do they have to do it for years when they first come into the company? Yes. You gotta do what I did as an owner. You got to earn the respect of your peers and show that you can manage a team before you can become a director and manage teams, right, so to speak. But my point is give yourself as many options as possible. That needs to be your why. So when we talk about that next level task, I just can't imagine talking with somebody saying to me, I don't want all those options. I just don't understand if that's even possible. That they would be lying. They would be lying. For example, does everybody want a Lamborghini? Does everybody want a Ferrari? Does everybody want? No. But if you wanted one, would you want to be able to do it if you wanted one? Well, of course. If I want anything, I want to know that I can get anything that I want, or give anytime I want, or help anybody that I want, and not be, I can't help you right now. I can't do that right now. We can't go on that vacation. My daughter, sweetheart, I love you, but we can't afford that college. I don't ever want to be in that position, and I don't think anyone watching would want to be either. And tasks add to this, but then let's do this. Let's give a snippet of how we can redirect anyone watching this and get them to take the first step to start taking things to the next level. But go ahead.
Well, you said that they would be lying to you if they didn't want those things, right? And really, I think sometimes when people say those things, yes, they're lying, but what they're really saying is, I don't want to have to work that hard to get that. So it's not important enough for me. And we've said this, right? This is true of a lot of people, but we see it more and more with a lot of successful business owners that don't push because they're extremely comfortable. They have their basic needs taken care of. They've got, the things, if they want to get something, they typically go get it. And it can paralyze you as far as the growth in your business because you are in this place. And where that is for everybody is a little bit different. But, you say things like, get a taste of it as an example. And, I didn't grow up in a poor family, right? I don't think that we were, a rich family by any means. But my parents did very well, and it really, they had options, right? And they had options for us kids. But over time, I remember the first time I went to a Ruth Chris steakhouse, and I remember I was like, "Oh my god, like that's how much it is for the steak, and that doesn't come with anything." Then there's like, oh, you got to pay $20 for the side of asparagus or whatever it was. But I remember being like, that's a whole different level. And I remember thinking, I want to be able to do that whenever I want. And you said it, right? Maybe it's you've, and I'm these. This sounds so shallow because it's materialistic, but for a lot of us, when we're defining what that potential why is, it's hard to put out a why that there's not something that's like tangible. And that's why material things often come into play, because they're tangible, not because people are shallow, but because you can see it, touch it, feel it, all the things, right? It's tangible. So, if I'll use my example of a boat, right? So I grew up and, we had a 1976 runabout back in the day, and then we upgraded to a 1992 Sea Ray, right? Nice boats. But my buddy ended up, he long story short, he had a Mastercraft ski boat, which is the top of the line ski boat. And when I went for a ride that boat when I was 19, it was my life's mission to say, that's what I want to get. I want to have a Mastercraft ski boat someday. And fast forward from 19 to age 39, I think I was, when I finally got that boat 20 years later, right? So you if you don't have a taste, or you haven't gotten a taste, I think it's important to get out of your comfort zone a little bit and go experience something like that, right? And don't go break the bank. I'm not saying go take the family out for dinner at Ruth Chris, but I'm saying experience some of those things, and I think it'll give you a taste for maybe of like what's out there and what you want to do, as opposed to just living in your little world all the time. And this is just to expand your mind. I mean, look, there's nothing wrong with doing what you're doing, right? If you're happy and you're completely happy, there's nothing wrong with that. I don't want to come across like you guys need to do more, right? We all need to do more if we're growing in this lifetime. I mean, we're either growing or we're dying, and that's the mission. So I think at the end of the day, Metz, you want to talk about what are some things that you can do to maybe, get you in that mindset. Maybe you've been stuck in the trenches for the last 2 or 3 years with COVID. Maybe it's been to 20 years you've had your martial arts school. It's just like sometimes you think about maybe wanting to tap out. You're like, maybe I'll just hang it up, but I can't because I need the income, but I hate the hours or that. I don't know what it is, right? What it is for you and where you're at. Some of you are having record months. Some of you are doing the same months you've been doing for the last 15, 20 years. Well, what's going to drive you and what's going to pull you out of those trenches, right? It's doing something that you're not used to doing. And I will tell you, and I don't want to give away what I'm talking about tomorrow, but there's never been a better time to be in this business. And I'm talking through COVID, I'm talking through a possible recession, all those things. There's never been a better time to be in this business. You have the greatest business system on the planet. And I've said this before. If people that look for a business, you look for something where there's recurring revenue, right? We're not a gas station where somebody comes in and it's transactional, where they buy something today and we might see them in a week or 2 weeks or 10 weeks. We don't know. We're not transactional that way. It's recurring revenue because we have a monthly, a charge that we charge for our programs and our services. We also have an ascension model. So when people get a taste of what we're doing and they get a taste, that's what we do with upgrade programs, the controversial upgrade programs, but they get a taste of what we're doing in our upgrade program because our upgrade programs are real and there's real value there. They're okay paying a little bit extra per month. And then there's another program on top of that. So we have this ascension model. So now not only we have recurring revenue, but we have an ascension model, and all of these things work together. And by the way, a lot of us are teaching kids and for adults too, but the self-help industry is I think $1 trillion industry. It's billions for sure, but it could be trillions. And when you're dealing with kids, we know that parents will spend $10 on their kid versus $1 on themselves. They'll give their kids whatever they want, whatever they think they need. So we are in an unbelievable time right now. And I have seen the success of the enrollments because we're in a big recruiting time right now between August and October here. We've just seen the people that are coming in, and it's very easy to enroll people right now. So I think some of us got to get out of our own way, maybe go out there, learn something that we may not necessarily know, or do something differently than the way we've been doing it for a long time. I'll end it with this, but I was talking to a client today, and they have a backyard barbecue at an elementary school. So the elementary school puts on this backyard barbecue. Basically, it's a fall festival or back to school bash with all the kids, but it's held at the elementary school. And they had watched our mass intro presentation yesterday. And I said, well, I want to go and hand out this flyer for 4 weeks for $49, and we'll give the proceeds back to the school. I said, that's just not the right way to do it, right? You need to go there, and we want to do a free community event where we get everybody to come back, because you can go hand out 300 flyers and you're not going to have many people do it. And I asked him, I said, did you do this last year? He said, yes. I said, well, how many people did you get? He said, well, first of all, the flyers didn't go out for like another 2 or 3 more weeks. I think we maybe had 8 people coming off the flyers. That's not the right way to do it. And if that's the way you've been doing business, there's a better way to do it where you can capitalize on an event tonight. Today, he has that event, and he can fill up classes for Friday and Saturday and enroll more people on Friday, Saturday than he's probably enrolled in the last 3 years of doing this event. So it's out there. It's out for the taking. There's knowledge out there, but you got to be an action taker, and you got to be able to understand what it is that you're trying to accomplish, and then get the information you need, and then take that information and execute. And that's what's going to get you to the next level.
And I'm gonna give you guys the secret. I'm gonna give you guys the secret and tell you one of the things that you just cannot deny, and you got to start focusing on, that will help you get to that next level. And this is real interesting. This is, you said you were talking to a client. I was talking to Nick Barbado. He was in the office. Nick is our broker on our real estate, for our real estate, commercial real estate company that we have, whether it's buying buildings or leasing up some of our buildings that we have. But also I use Nick to find us locations for some new schools. Here's the secret. Here's something that can start taking you guys to the next level. And I'm getting it right from our paper here. Task, this is going to be really interesting. You have to pay attention to the average value of your customers in your in your business, right? We're charging right now. We just recently we bumped the base rate program. I mean, we sell programs. We don't have a monthly fee, but the monthly fee for a new student basically breaks down to $199 down and $159 a month. That just went up to $169 a month ago. Okay. I talked about this a million times, how our industry focuses on, because we take the calls. I need more students. What do you need more students for? Well, if I have this many students, I'll be able to pay me a paycheck. I'll be able to pay my bills. Financially, it'll be easier for me. That is the number one answer. I need to enroll more students, or I need more students, or I need to get to X students. Okay, check this out. These are our 7 locations in Florida. My lowest average student value or customer value, right? As far as when a person signs up with me, on average, how much revenue is generated with the customers in that particular month, right? All right. The highest, and this is year to date. This is not like 1 month. This is January through July. I don't have the August update yet. January through July, the average. The highest student value for the year through July is $262.90 per customer. $262.90. So basically, to make this simple, because we're not in a seminar here, but just take $262.90, multiply that by how many students you have, and that's kind of average of what we're grossing, right? Charging $159 as a basic program. Okay. My lowest student value between all the schools, that was the school with the highest. The lowest is $206.80.
Wow.
206.80. Okay. 206.80. Here's what's really interesting. The school that has the highest student value at 260.290 has the least amount of students. The least amount of students. The school that has the lowest student value has the most students out of any school. And I want to explain it. So what's the point in telling you this? It's not sometimes more students. So I brought up Nick Barbado. I was talking to Nick. I said, Nick, again, if you're just tuning in, he's our broker for our real estate, but also I'll have him find locations to open up more schools for us. And I said, Nick, any luck? I need another location within 3 miles of this specific school. And it's the school with the lowest student value, but the highest number of students. I pointed this out to Nick. I said, so let's just get the calculator. So what did I say? I said 262. Let's just round it. 262 minus 206. That's a difference of $56 per student. Okay. Well, the school that has the lowest student value has an active count of 358 students. If I take that spread where they're off $56 from our other school on a student value worth, 56 times 358 is $20,048 a month. A month in revenue. In case you're not a whiz like Tass is, that's almost $250,000 a year in revenue that I feel I am not able to achieve or get. Why? There's too many students because the square footage of that school with the 358 students is 2,000 square feet. 2,000 square feet. Classes there start at 3:30 every day. And we're 6 days a week, 6 days a week. We can't accommodate upgrades or students that want to go to a higher level. Like, we're jammed. We can't do anything except run the school. We can't grow the school anymore. We can run it, right?
Yep.
The school that has the highest student value, they have room because they have the lowest student count. So they have room. They can do more events. They can fit more kids. They can have kids move up to different levels. And by the way, I have to say it. When we talk upgrades, I just want to throw the disclaimer out there. We do not take away anything from a student that doesn't want to upgrade as far as the core program. They could go white to black belt without ever upgrading into a higher level program. But when we have students that want to compete or students that want, and by the way, any student can compete, but if you want to do different kinds of training that has nothing to do with your core program, kicks and tricks, for example, you want to start learning the gymnastics or something like that, as an example. Well, we offer that. That has nothing to do with our taekwondo or our karate or whatever you do. But if you want to do that, you can. It's just X amount of dollars. Well, we can't offer that at the other school because we don't have any more room, right? We have to wait, right, until spots open up. So my point here is that if you get in the mindset of understanding how to systemize your school and give people options, like we talked about earlier, just like when you talked about Ruth Chris, you went to Ruth Chris. I'm not upset that if I want a Caesar salad, I got to buy a Caesar salad. I'm not upset that my steak doesn't come with wine, a side, a salad, a dessert. It doesn't come with it. I'm not upset about that. I don't feel like they're nickel and diming me. I mean, you could go to the ale house, and if you want dessert, you got to buy it, right? It's just options. Go ahead, Tess.
You know who thinks that way? The young broke kid that can't afford it. That's who thinks that way. That's who thinks, well, this is ridiculous that I'd have to pay extra for a side of broccoli. because that's just not what you're accustomed to, right? You go to a restaurant and you order the meal, or whatever you get comes with whatever. And I remember, having a staff, they're no longer with us, years ago. And I remember bringing them to Vegas. And I remember they went for the trade show. And all I heard that was them complaining, like, not just like, wow, food's expensive in Vegas. It wasn't that. It was, this is ridiculous. Because at the time, they just didn't have the right mentality, right? And they had that I'll call it, they had a broke mentality, right? And sometimes we have to fix what's in between our ears, and we have to have the right mentality, right? And it's, instead of saying, you know what, that's ridiculous, you say to yourself, well, how can I afford that one day? How can I make this so this is never a problem for me? And I think that's another important life lesson is, asking yourself the quality of the questions that you ask yourself, right? Your mind is the greatest computer out there, and whatever you ask it, it will give you an answer. And so if you're asking yourself the same questions every day and they're just not good questions, if you say, well, why am I overweight? Well, because you ate a cheeseburger, you had the malt, you did this, you're not exercising, your mind's going to come up with the answer, as opposed to, how can I get in the best shape of my life? Well, you're going to come up with answers for that as well. And so it's about asking yourself the right questions.
Look, at the end of the day, that's what we do as consultants. That's what we're here for. And by the way, you said it earlier, Tess, and Marianne, it's great to see you on here. It's funny. She put Mr. Mike. You are amazing. Well, thank you. She was, I taught her kids, Casey and Chris, when they were kids. Now they're married. They have, kids of their own. Casey has kids, and we're going back almost 30 years. Nobody knows me as Mr. Mike. That's funny, right? They're like, who's Mr. Mike? But anyway, you said it earlier though, Tess. The why has to be greater than the grind, right? Because I don't want to have to get up and do all the stuff that I really didn't sign up for, right? Like I started my martial arts business. Why? Because I wanted to teach martial arts. I didn't want to have to go make relationships with schools or run booths or spend money on social media or learn social media or blah, 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 blah. I didn't sign up for that. And I don't feel like doing it. And by the way, I have a great house. I have a great car. I have a great life. I'm good. That's okay. We're not for you. We are not for you then. I mean, Maya would not be for you. And I'm not saying that's good or bad, but when we get clients on board, we don't want you to be good. That's not what we're here for. We'll never be like, hey, yeah, you're good. What else can I help with? You're good. Like, that's just not what we do. Mr. Perez is asking, how many students in the 2,000 square foot school? The average active count for the year at that school is 358. Average active count is 358. And that's the average count that it's been over since January through July, 2,000 square feet. I mean, so we want another location. The thing is nothing is available in the area. But pay attention, everyone. You have to have a different way of thinking. Rents in Central Florida are extremely expensive right now. I told our broker, anywhere within 3 miles of the school, if he finds something 2 miles down the road and that rent is $8,000 a month for another 2,000 square feet, I'm going to jump on it, because the way I see things is I'm losing $20,000 a month by not having more space. And I told him, if you can't find another location, see if there's more space available in the center. I'll take that too. I mean, but we need to do something, because I'm stifling, or that situation is stifling my team there to really grow more. Now, that school also through July in 2,000 square feet, I have it here. Through July, they did $509,132.78. They're averaging $72,714.29 a month. That's their average monthly gross, $72,714, which is really, really good. But I don't want to be really, really good. I want to be the best that we possibly can be. And that could be the best that they could be in 2,000 square feet with that many students, right? We could do more. I mean, they've done higher. That's the average. But we got to evolve. It's what we said at the beginning. We got to constantly evolve and evolve and evolve. I mean, when I opened that school, geez, 8 years ago, maybe 8 years, 9 years. I don't know. When we opened that school, 2,000 square feet was going to be great. Do you know why? Because you know this, Tass. That school was an overflow school from another school we have 3 miles up north of that school.
Right.
It's less than 3 miles. And that was an overflow for that school. So when I told our broker I need a school within 3 miles, I said, just don't go north. He goes, right, because your other school. So 3 miles east, west, or south, we'll do it. We need an overflow. And we're opening an overflow for that school, that original school, first quarter of next year. So I can't be afraid and make excuses. And a lot of us are in this position where we say, well, I don't want multiple schools. I don't want multiple schools. Maybe I don't want multiple schools, but if I want to evolve, if I want to maximize success, I have to open up another school or I'm stifled here. I'm stifled right now. I'm stifled. I have to open another school if I want to take things to the next level, right? So you got to look at things differently sometimes, and it's about perspectives.
Yeah, 100%. I remember having a conversation with you a while back too, and I think it's the same school. But having a great retention rate, sometimes can have an impact on your student value, right? Because you're keeping people, they ascend to a certain level, and then you keep them. And what some of you may or may not know about student value is there's 5 profit centers, and at some point, if you're retaining everybody and they're all on programs, it's hard to hit some of those additional profit centers where you can generate some of that extra revenue, which is where the challenges come in. But hey, listen, that's a great problem to have. And, those are the fun problems, right? You're always going to have a list of challenges and things to do, but it's always fun to update the list and make it a new list of something that's more enjoyable and not so much fun.
That's it. And by the way, on that retention note, what was not an option was to start giving less customer service. So hopefully we have higher turnover. That's not an option. Right. So it means we were doing a great job. We were retaining the students so well. And by the way, you guys know if you do a special event, let's say, sometimes the biggest group of people that sign up for these special events or parent night outs are your beginners a lot of times, right? It's new exciting. The advanced students have done that, and usually they're older because they're advanced, they're older, and they've done that, so they don't sign up for those things as much as beginners. And when you retain, you're doing something right. But now I need to expand. We need more space, right? So anyway, there it is.
Yeah, it's great, and to that point, you'll peel off some of those people, put them at the new location, which will open up the door for some new people to come in on the other location. And there's strategies in why you do the things that you do. And, and we've had it happen in reverse too, right? Where, we go through COVID, we were in an indoor mall, and the indoor mall businesses were vacating left and right. It just was no longer a good location for us. And so we had to make a move, right? And at the same time, we had some challenges with staff as well. So we said, okay, we're going to regroup, and then we'll get our second location again in a better spot. But if you've got one location here and the other location is 15 miles away, it can be very hard to merge those schools if you need to. So, looking at a school close to where your existing one is, so you can have overflow and start with a nice group of healthy people. So you've got social proof, right? That you have these people in this class and they live close to that school, they can go there. It'll take the pressure off this school because we know we can enroll people there. You've got a fresh start over here. And then if anything were ever to happen in the future, it's close enough where you could merge people, do a different location if need be. So lots of reasons why we do things and why they're laid out that way. But, right now, if you've got one location, take care of that one location and, know that you're in the best industry right now, in the best time period. But it's time to go make things happen. You've got now through October-ish, where enrollments should be flush. It's just a matter of you getting in front of your ideal customer and prospect, and really take advantage of the enrollment phase right now. And that's going to help, hopefully spark you to the next level and get you excited about what's next. That's all I got, Metz.
That's it. Well, guys, thanks for tuning in. Hopefully we could see you in October at the Game Changers event, the My Elite Game Changers seminar, October 21st and 2nd in Orlando. Check it out. Message us if you're interested, or I don't know where you would find that, but there's a link somewhere out there for Game Changers, I think
so.
But anyway, if you're interested, let us know. Let's see, what is this? Oh, sir, no, I didn't see that. Okay. Here. Yeah, I'll take a look and just see. Let me just make sure I have your information here, or if it came through. Everybody else, you can go if you like.
Dismissed. You guys are dismissed. Metzger got a new phone. Probably doesn't notify me.
I really don't know how to work this. I don't see it. Here, Mr. Hensley, do this. Here, this is for everybody.
3, 2, 1.
You know what? It would just be, well, yeah, let me erase that. I was just going to give them I use an iPad. I don't use a laptop anymore. So here we go. All right.
What are you doing?
There you go, sir. I just put my email.
Oh, dude. Why'd you?
So email me your information.
Why'd you give him that email?
Oh.
What?
Or do this one.
Wait till you see this one. This is the good one. This is the good one.
Ding.
Hey, speaking of which, Metz, remind me of something. I don't want to speak out of turn. I'm going back to
You always do.
This is 12 years ago. This might be inspiring. If you guys stayed on a while, this might be inspiring. 12 years ago, I remember coming to the Super Show, signed up for Elite 11 or 12 years ago, whatever it's been. You walked me over to the Maya booth or into one of the computers, and we just took a look at kind of the systems for CNA. But I think wasn't your password to get in broke something or other?
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yes.
And I think
you mean
it was, I think Jimmy Phipps or someone said, dude, why is that your password? Because that's the year that I was broke. I forget exactly what it was, but that was, that was a long time ago, man. But
that's right.
Those are funny. Yeah, but look, it's just funny, right? Sometimes we do these things and we have these reminders for ourselves. It's not the password anymore, guys, just so you know. So if you're trying to get in, it's not going to work. Now it's wealthy. No, just kidding. But I do.
In all caps.
In all caps. Yeah, with $signs afterwards, 4 of them. But I think sometimes you need triggers, you need reminders, is my point. And I just remember chuckling at that story because I think sometimes people think, well, you've always been successful. And that's just not the case, right? We all start from somewhere, and it's all of our responsibility to take it to the next level. So you've got Metzger's, both of his emails there. They both get the same spot. But if you guys need anything, we're here for you, and happy to help.
Thank you, guys. Have a great week, everybody.
All right.